I just recently replayed Cuphead, did it on stream, you can check it out on the channel, but I just wanted to go through and rank all of the bosses because that's pretty much all Cuphead is. The Root Pack, we're going to rank them individually. Sal Spudder, he's F tier. First boss you're probably going to fight. He just kind of teaching you how to do things. He's not hard. Ollie Bulb, also F tier. You can literally beat this guy by doing nothing. You can just stand there and you beat him. Chauncey Chantenay, or Chauncey, I guess. Yeah, you're supposed to say it. He's a C tier. He's a big carrot, but he's got some psychic powers. They throw enough at you here that, especially early on in the game before you're well practiced, it can be a bit of a challenge, but really nothing too crazy. Grande, D tier. Once you get that spread shot, he's really not a big deal. You can poof out of the way of most of his stuff. He does teach you the importance of ducking, so if you are slow at learning that, he could be a little bit harder, but really you should be able to take care of this guy no problem. Ribby and Croaks. These guys are B tier for me because they have a couple modes in their slot machine version where it's really hard to dodge what they're throwing at you, like the tiger stuff. So yeah, just a little more difficult. I think probably the hardest on that first island. Hilda Berg, you get your first airplane level. She's going to be a B tier also. I think that all the different forms that she has is enough to keep you on your toes. Like if you get lucky and don't have to worry about the arrows and the stars that chase you around, then it's a pretty easy boss fight. And that last phase is really just not that difficult once you figure out what the flying saucers are doing. And then rounding out that first island, you got Cagney Carnation, a giant flower. He's C tier. I don't know, like he got some moves that are a little bit tricky, but it should only take you a couple lives to get it down. Like you're probably not going to get any of these first go, but I think you can take care of this guy before you get too frustrated if you're paying attention. That takes us over to Inkwell Island number 2, where we're going to start off with Baroness von Bonbon. She's a C tier. There are some kind of tricky things with this one. Like again, it's kind of random. Maybe you're gonna get a lucky order on, like if you're fighting the waffle or the gumball machine or the jawbreaker first, like in the order that those guys are gonna come out. But I think overall, it's a nice one to kind of start off this next island. Djimmi the Great, another airplane level. He's a giant genie, and he's A tier. I don't like this one. It's pretty hard, and any level where I'm like guaranteed to take hits are going to be ranking pretty high for me. I don't like to take damage if it's avoidable, and he's just got a lot of attacks where there's a ton flying at you. But the backgrounds and everything like make this a really fun level to be on, but the fight itself, it can be kind of not that enjoyable. Beppy the Clown is an A tier as well. I think that he is a good kind of frustrating in that, like, there's a lot going on, a lot of different moves, but once you figure out the ways to take care of the different obstacles that are coming at you, it's not too hard. There's a couple moments in this fight where it just kind of clicks, and when that happens, it feels really good. Wally Warbles, probably my least favorite fight on that second island. I just don't like that bird. I don't, especially like that phase with the little baby bird. Not a fan of that. But he's pretty difficult, especially like all the feathers flying everywhere and having to dodge those and change to the smaller shape and everything. And so yeah, B feels right for him. We're gonna have our first S tier with Grim Matchstick. This dragon is not easy. Definitely a real big hurdle. I think the first really big hard boss in the game. When you make it here, it's definitely a jump in difficulty, and it feels good when you finally beat him. I put him up in S tier instead of just an A tier because of those little balls that he shoots out that spread out if you shoot them accidentally, making it like completely not viable to be using the seeker shot at all, and you have to change up your tactics. And so it's a great fight, good boss, but definitely I think the hardest one so far. That takes us to Inkwell Isle 3. Rumor Honeybottom is the first one we're ranking. I'm gonna give her a B. I don't know. The first part of this fight, it's just shooting that bee cop, and it isn't difficult. He's got like really boring moves. The hardest part of this one is just moving from platform to platform as they're falling, and so, but definitely, you know, kind of a hard way to start out that island. Captain Brinybeard is a C tier. I like all the different forms. Again, cool boss. Enjoy the aesthetics of it and everything, but when it comes to difficulty, there's not a ton going on here once you figure out to be dodging the barrel and what's gonna come at you from what's going on in the background. Again, not too hard, especially the fact that you can just duck underneath that big attack. C tier is also going to be for Cala Maria, the giant mermaid, another airplane level. Not my favorite kind of level. She's definitely kind of a step down in difficulty, I think, at least compared to, you know, Wally Warbles on Island 2. And so if you can avoid getting turned into stone, then, you know, it's really not that hard. Dr. Call's robot is going to be another S tier. This one was one of my biggest frustrations in the whole match. Like, it really was just kind of like banging my head up against a wall on that first stage for, I don't know, about an hour, it felt like, before it finally clicked. And that's probably just my own fault. I should have taken some time to actually learn what was going on instead of just trying to brute force it. But either way, it was definitely a frustration and one of my hardest fights in the entire playthrough. Werner Vermin, the German mouse, or he might be a rat, I guess. I really like this fight. It's a lot of fun. It's a B tier for me, though, difficulty-wise. The bottle caps and everything, if you remember all the moves you have, which was my big problem, I forgot, like, I could jump over him, which is a pretty dumb thing to forget. But if you can remember that, then, you know, you'll do all right on this guy. And then the cat coming in is an easier last phase, but, you know, still a good time. Sally stage play, another B tier. I think with these B tiers, it really is just kind of, you know, they're difficult. You might get stuck a little bit, but not to the point where it is frustrating. You're still having a good time, and her moves can be kind of annoying. But I feel like if you have the right equipment, like the smoke bomb, then getting through like the big wave that comes through on her final phase, you know, it could be frustrating and hard to do, but if you have that equipment, it's not a big deal at all. And so for me, she's a B tier. Now, if we were ranking on just coolness, I think Phantom Express would be one of my favorites. It'd be S tier for sure. Difficulty-wise, we're just going to put it at an A. The hardest thing to be worrying about on this one is those the pumpkin things that fly around and drop bricks and make it so your little cart is moving back and forth. That is the most annoying part of this. And if you can just kind of pay attention to those and use your parry to be able to move the cart when you want to move it instead of when they're trying to move it, then it's not too hard. That last stage can be a bit of a problem, but if you've got the right equipment, again, it's not that difficult. And that brings us to Inkwell Hell. It's time for the speed round. That is All Bets Are Off. Tipsy Troop, that's an S tier. Whenever I would roll a 1, I would automatically just know I'm gonna lose. I don't think that I successfully beat them without taking a hit at all, and that is really what you have to do when it comes to this part of the game, because it's a gauntlet, it's a boss rush. Chips Beddington is going to be an F tier. Very easy. I think maybe I took damage one time the entire time I was playing against him, so I'd always be aiming for that one. Or I'd be aiming for another F tier, Mr. Wheezy. Again, not a problem. You got that smoke bomb, you're just gonna go boop boop, back boop boop, boop, you know, back forth. It's not a big deal. And so those guys are, you know, F tiers. Pip and Dot, the dominoes, they're gonna be D tier. Again, there's a lot going on in this one, but as long as you're paying attention to where the dice that they spit out are going, I don't think you're really going to run into any trouble at all. And in fact, they have a pretty easy parry, which lets you build up that, you know, combo. And if you're using the homing shot, then it's just kind of like, you just jump around a little bit and you'll be done with them in no time. Hoppus Pocus, or Hopus Pocus, I'm thinking it's Hoppus because he's a rabbit, right? He is an S tier. This one even more so than Tipsy Troop. If it came up, I'm just like, I'm gonna die. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm sure I could look up like a guide on how to fight him, but I didn't. And so whatever had come up was like, well, I guess this is over. I think I like brute forced my way through it once, but yeah, just one that I was like praying, please don't land on that one. Fear Lap is going to be a C tier. Again, you know, just not too much to worry about here. The little guys at the bottom, I think, are what move him up from like a D, because there's the little like ghost guys that are down there. Once they shoot up in the air and get you, then it's a real pain in the butt. But if you can just watch for those guys, this is really just an easy level to really build that combo meter on. Piruletta is even easier than the last one. She's a D tier. Again, you got that smoke bomb. You can just poof between her legs as she's running back and forth on the screen. And if you have that and the homing, then it's just doing that until she's dead, and not a problem at all. Mangosteen, I think that's how you say that one. That's a weird one for me. So that's a C tier. The only problem with these guys are the little chalk cubes that are jumping around. Sometimes it feels like they can be a little random with where they're landing. But again, if you're paying attention, then you should kind of know where they're going to be and you can get out of the way. Especially, again, using that smoke bomb, which for me is like the make or break. And so, yeah, C tier on those. This guy, spread shot, just aim up and you get him, no problem. That brings us to the last one of these guys, Mr. Chimes. That's an A tier. Not quite as difficult as those other S tiers that I've mentioned, but I hate how long this fight seems with like having to parry on the cards to match the cards, and you really have to pay attention, which I don't know, sometimes I can forget. My memory's not great anyway, and so having to remember where those things are while I'm also trying to play the game where I'm not getting hit by bullets and everything is just difficult. And so this guy's definitely A tier. Now we're at Mr. Dice, the final boss of All Bets Are Off. He's S tier for sure. It's kind of like an S tier because the whole fight you probably aren't coming in with full health. I really was struggling with parrying on the cards. I don't know why I couldn't get that timing down, but that really took me it felt like a long time to be able to finally get it. I can understand that probably was just a me thing, but this fight's not too complicated, which again is one of the reasons why it feels so hard, because it's like there's not a lot to figure out. I know what I should be doing, I'm just not able to do it, and that makes it difficult for me than like trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong. And then lastly, we got the Devil. I'm going to give him an S tier also. He's got a lot of different moves, but once you get them down, it feels awesome, and to know what is coming and how to get by it. But even when I was like at the end and like had the run where I beat him, I think the run before that, I died really early, like maybe even the first phase of the fight. And so even knowing what's going on doesn't mean you're automatically going to make it very far in the fight. And so for me, it's a satisfying boss that, you know, works, because you want the last boss of your game to be one of the hardest, at least in a game like this, when bosses are the entire reason you're playing it. And that is going to be my whole list. Thanks so much for checking it out. Remember, you can check out the whole playthrough on my channel as well. Looking forward to the DLC. I'm sure we'll be doing some more Cuphead on the channel real soon. Until then, take care, and we will see you next time when we put out another video. Bye.